Welcome to another edition of Journey of Hope. Stories of people sharing their experience of their journey through life, the ups and the downs, the twists and the turns, the surprises. Our special guest today is Bill Nessels from Grand Terrace, California. Bill's been in this area for a period of time. He's a retired sheriff, a businessman, and has had a number of different career turns in his life. But he wants to share with you the journey that he's been on. Bill, it's good to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
And we have people from around the world that are watching, and you've got a very interesting experience to share, and make yourself comfortable.
Well, all right. Excuse me.
There
Thank
we
you.
go. You got a little bit of qulexibility there.
Oh, wait a minute. Here I am.
Yeah, I can see that you can do some things with your leg and knee that I don't want to.
You don't want to. You don't want to.
I don't want to.
You don't even
That's
want
right.
one of those.
Well, we're going to learn about that a little bit, but tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, basically, I was born in Chicago, 1942. Moved out here. I've had several jobs. I was selling printing equipment. I'm a certified arc welder by trade out of high school. I've always wanted to be a cop. I came out here selling capital equipment in the printing industry, and that's one of the reasons I had a printing career for a while.
You came from Chicago?
From Chicago,
Okay.
while I was actually selling capital equipment. Capital equipment at that point in time, this is a long time ago, was $5,000. That was a lot of money. And anyhow, I arrived out here in 1971. I actually followed my mom out. I was up in her apartment, and we're looking around, and this is California, and I've never been to the West Coast, and I see this, and I forget what month this was, December or January. I'm out here, and I see this pickup truck pull down alongside the building down the alley, and it's full of snow. And I just left like 20 inches, okay, in Chicago, and somebody's bringing it down, and I said, what's up with that? And they're having a snowball fight, and I'm going, is this how you get your snow in California? I'm coming. I'm going to be here. And everything else is history.
So over the last 25 years, what have you been doing?
Well, basically a combination of printing. I owned Print Quick Instant Printing in San Bernardino for almost 30 years. We had some satellite shops in outlying towns, Redlands and Rialto, and at one time we had 13 employees. We were the largest instant printer in the Inland Empire. Unfortunately, one of the recessions got us, and I had to get out of the printing business on that scale and open a smaller shop, and the computer eventually wiped that one out. So
But you've been continually reinventing yourself.
Exactly, and it's really been a fun experience. I wouldn't change anything. I really wouldn't. I've learned a lot of lessons. There's a lot of life lessons to be learned. I've been fortunate enough that even the mistakes I made with the smoking and all the things that caused this, it's not getting any worse. I'm maintaining because I stopped and I'm taking care of myself. It's an interesting journey. When you're putting all of this up, I'm going, journey. Yeah, right. I've done that.
Journey of Hope is the title of our program.
Right.
And, as I got acquainted with you and listened to your story, I thought, hey, this is a phenomenal story that we want to have our listening audience to follow. But you've had an interest in horses.
Well, when I was with the Sheriff's Department, my main mission when I started out there in 74 was mounted search and rescue. And we were wide area search. When they called us out, the helicopters had already been out, the ground pounders had already been out, and they'd call us out, and we had perspective from on horseback that a man on the ground didn't, or the helicopter didn't. The helicopter can't see under a tree. A helicopter can't hear. Things like that. So the mounted aspect, we could cover large areas of desert, mountain, whatever the case may be, in a relatively short period of time. And we also got to do mounted law enforcement, the US festivals. We were out there with our horses and creating wedges through crowds and doing all kinds of things back there in the 80s.
Back in the 80s.
My golly, that's...
Okay.
I'm thinking it's yesterday.
And you were with the Sheriff's Department how long?
23 years.
For 23 years.
23, as a reserve deputy.
Okay, and are we talking about usually on the weekends you're on a horse?
You're on a horse and
or a four-wheeler?
Well, the first 13 years was on horseback, okay? The last 10 years I switched over to four-wheel drive ATVs. And as a matter of fact, I'm the grandfather of the ATV program for the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department. Our Fontana unit started out with with ATVs when they were just still three-wheelers, okay? That's called an ATC, but we don't want to get into all that. But by the time I had left there in '97, we had like 15 units of ATVs that were working with the horses. And it wasn't always harmonious when you start out and you put a mechanized piece of equipment in with four-legged animals, the original four-wheel drive,
right.
Okay? And the horseback riders aren't, they're not exactly 100% behind you at that point. But when they needed their lunches and it was 5 miles that way and they were on a horse and we were on an ATV, all of a sudden we were good guys.
You were the good guys then,
yeah. So
that was an interesting dynamic, getting that kind of the transition and everything.
There was a lot of training that had to go on between horses and ATVs. We used to drop smoke bombs and do all kinds of noises. We'd fire off we used to fire off our backs of our horses anyhow as part of their training with our weapons. But we'd use smoke and all kinds of things that a crowd might use to make you disperse, and work our way through that with the horses on our four-wheel drive ATVs. Yeah. So they've got hundreds of units now. I am just absolutely.
You ought to be thrilled.
I am. I mean, everywhere you look in the county, there's four-wheel drive ATVs, and now they're making them so big now they can almost fly.
You were an integral part of the whole beginning.
It really pretty much started in Fontana.
Well, something happened with your health. I mean, that's resulted in the amputation of your leg, and you gave reference to the fact about smoking.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about what happened.
Well, I smoked for 43 years. The peripheral artery disease is what I ended up having, and that's a vascular problem.
PAD.
PAD. And what would happen is you'd be walking along, and then all of a sudden your legs start cramping up. So, I mean, at first it was a couple hundred yards. I used to golf and do all that kind of stuff. And then it just
got more gradual.
Yeah, you're right. And pretty soon you're going 25 to 50 paces, and now you're in trouble. Excuse me.
So at that point, is it just the legs that are cramping, or
right?
Okay.
Right.
The lungs aren't a problem at this point.
Well, they hadn't been diagnosed at that point. They're So the COPD is a bonus on what I got from that. It was, excuse me, my doctor just nailed it right on the head what the problem was, and we went ahead and started doing all the testing and all the stuff that goes with it, and finally it got down to the point where, okay, well now we got to do something because of the vascular problem. Well, the problem at first was in my left leg, worse. Excuse me. So I had a bypass done there, and it worked.
Kind of they rerouted some veins
exactly.
and so forth?
Exactly.
Okay.
So, and that worked, and that was in 2000.
It's all right.
I'm sorry. At any rate, in 2001, I started having problems with this leg. Well, we did 6 bypasses that didn't work.
On the right leg?
On the right leg.
Okay.
And number 6, 7, 8, and 9 were done in succession. I was in the hospital almost 6 weeks. I was the very first surgery I had was a below the knee. And that's ideal if you're an amputee. I mean, that knee is just huge. I know all that now. And somewhere at that point when I was recovering, I fell on it and I damaged it. And so surgery number 8 was to try to fix the damage.
So surgery number 7, they're working on it.
I was below the knee.
Below the knee. It looked kind of promising that it might take.
Right.
And okay.
All right. And then I fell on it. I don't remember this. Okay.
Yeah, you went down.
Thank God. I don't remember this. Anyhow, this surgery number 8 was to try to repair it. Wasn't going to go. Went above the knee, and I was home in 4 days.
So, I mean, did gangrene start setting in at any particular point?
Yes, the leg. I wanted to chew it off, and I'm not trying to gross anybody out. I was in so much pain. I almost didn't come home from the hospital. Okay, and it was really pain.
After one of the surgeries.
Right. It was the pain. I hit the wall. I have never hit the wall in my life until then on pain. I've got a very high tolerance, but this was way
beyond.
way beyond anything I'd ever experienced. And as soon as they got rid of the parts that were bothering me physically, I just immediately started healing, and it was just like really quick steps from there.
So now you smoked for 43 years. Are we talking about a pack a day, half a pack a day?
Anywhere from a pack a day at the end, right, to 2.5 packs for most of my life.
2.5? Wow.
Right, or 2, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
I mean, just...
Constantly, for 43 years.
Right. Well, when I was a youngster, 16 years old, you got to put yourself there, and I'm not making excuses.
But everybody smoked.
Everybody did.
Yeah.
I don't care where you went. Right. So,
yeah.
and
it was just a thing to do. I mean, you look from the movies in those days, and they're all smoking. It was a part of life.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
But 43 years later, it caught up. Some get away with it.
Yeah, but you know what? They're in the minority.
They are.
They're in a very small percentage.
And it's questionable whether they do get away with it. Yeah,
right.
No question. So, how does this affect you? And you're married?
Oh, yes.
And we have how many children?
We have 3.
3 children. And how many grandchildren?
3.
You got 3, okay. And how is this affecting you and your wife now? I mean, you're going to lose your leg. You've retired from the sheriff's department at this point.
I had to close my business.
Yeah, you had to close your business.
Right.
So, we're talking about
all of
reinventing yourself.
Yeah, all this came to a head like at once. Okay, I had to shut down because my legs were giving me problems because the computers were overtaking the instant printing.
So you're phasing out of your business or being run out of your business one way or the other, losing the business, and about the same time your health is deteriorating and you're going to lose your leg.
Right. Well, I didn't know exactly at that point. Okay, I had the advantage of knowing I was going to lose my leg.
But you didn't know when.
That's right, and it was a long process of and a lot of different surgeries to get to that point. It's knowing you're going to lose your leg. It's excuse me. It's a relief when it finally does happen. It was a big relief to me because the pain I was in was just making me.
So as soon as you lost the leg, the pain went away. Then
it started.
Immediately, the healing began.
When I got home, I think I took my pain pills twice and put them on the shelf. That was it.
Unbelievable, that rapid of a change.
Yeah. I just I don't like pain pills. No.
So tell me, I mean, share with us what's going through your mind. I mean, you've been able to get around, but of course your health had been declining, and you hadn't been able to do some of the things you've been doing, and now you're without a leg.
Well, the very first time you wake up and you look down at the sheets and you only got one foot sitting down there, it kind of, okay, it's gone. It's over.
It's for real.
It's for real. And there's a lot of things I was very fortunate on. Okay, I've always had a lot of upper body strength. I didn't mean to hurt that young lady's hand in here today shaking it, but and both my brothers are that way too. And so they had this little bar above the bed, and I was like a monkey. I was all over the place. I was moving. I was figuring out at that point how you going to do this, how you going to do that. But you know, I was lost. I didn't know where I was going to be going. I didn't know where this journey of hope was going to lead me. And I'm not playing with words here. You don't know when you're a brand new amputee.
You're different.
Well, yeah, you're different, but how are you going to cope with this? How you get out of bed and all of a sudden now you got to learn how to balance. You've got all these when you sit up, you can't sit up the same way. You can't do anything the same. All right, it's not impossible, but you need to learn. There's some things you just need to learn by yourself. Nobody can teach it to you. And when I finally did get out of the hospital, one of my buddies that I rode with in the sheriff's department. He was in another reserve, and he worked at one of the supermarkets at the meat counter. And one day a guy walks in, he was a bilateral AK, okay, on his BK, I'm sorry, and he's wearing shorts.
Okay, and a BK is
below the knee.
Below the knee.
I'm sorry.
That's
okay.
all right.
You got BK, AK,
right.
BE, AE,
above,
so
below,
on.
All right.
Exactly. We use a lot of acronyms. Anyhow. This customer walks up and he's talking to him and he's going, well, you're doing pretty good. I have a buddy of mine that just lost a leg. What do you do what should he do? How could, talk to me. Right. He happened to be the facilitator of the amputee connection of Redlands. Mike got the information. We were at one of the very next meetings and it just went from there. And I was very, very lucky in that respect because from the first amputee support group meeting on, I was in control. And the first thing you lose when some kind of trauma like this happens is your independence. And it started coming back. I started getting and I'm very independent now.
In other words, control was an issue here.
Well, you can call it that.
You're taking control of some of the things that are in
you
your life.
You don't have as much need for a caregiver. I didn't have as much need for a caregiver.
Not as much dependent.
I wasn't, exactly, and I wasn't that much of a burden on my family after I got going, okay? I was a big burden until that point. So
probably more of a burden than from your perspective.
exactly.
Than they were thinking,
Yeah,
but
they didn't mind doing what they
Right.
were doing, and yeah. So yeah, it's very interesting.
This amputee, what is it called? Amputee Connections.
Amputee Connection to Redlands.
And you got involved with that, so
Right.
you saw some possibilities there.
I did, and I went to meetings for about a year and a half, and it started to fall apart. And
You mean organizationally?
The organization started to fall apart, and there was 3 of us guys about the same age, all happened to be AKs, above the knees, and we decided we were going to try to save this thing. Dana passed on; he had some heart problems, and there was nobody else to take the lead. And we talked among us, and Bert Horton, my good friend, that we were till today we're still running the amputee connections together. Decided, and Tom Poling. Decided that we're going to take the bull by the horns and we're going to bring this thing back up. So one of the first things we did was become certified peer visitors. And I'm going to segue into a whole different
So there's a
thing
whole
here.
certification process.
That's right, there is. The amputee, what was called up until 2 months ago, the Amputee Coalition of America, it's now just the Amputee Coalition. They're a nationwide organization that probably has the largest database in the world on amputees. And they have a certification program for peer visitors. Okay, and what a peer visitor does is, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself here, but just so everybody understands, you go out and you meet a new patient either just before, hopefully, if they're willing to talk about it, or as soon after an amputation as they can recognize and actually pick up what you're trying to say, and can help them transition from the life they had to the life they have. That's what a certified peer visitor does. To become a certified peer visitor, you have to be an amputee first. You have to be comfortable in your skin, okay, as an amputee. You have
Who you are.
And you have to show that and have your act together. And then you have to take a class, and then you have to pass it. It's not, Sheriff's Department, I can pass any test, bang, 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 we got it, yes, right, Anyhow, not this one. If you don't pass it, you're not a certified peer visitor.
You're worse down. Well, so how did you get involved with Loma Linda?
This gets to be fun. Name Willie Stewart mean anything to you?
Oh, I know Willie very well.
All right.
One-armed Willie.
All right, we come to us 3 old guys. All right, I've always been kind of confined to a wheelchair because I can still only walk about 50 paces because I still have cardiac problems. Okay, so Bert's in a wheelchair because he hadn't got his new leg at that time. Tom Poling's got a leg just exactly like this one, and he's walking all over with a cane. So we go traipsing in, and we want to know. We call ahead, and can we talk to the case manager? Who do we need to talk to here in Loma Linda? Because we want to start
See if we can help out.
doing peer visits, okay? And I mean, we were all over the place, and nobody really knew what to do with us, quite honestly. It's not like they didn't care.
Yeah, but
they didn't know.
Where do you go?
What are you going to do with these 3 guys? How does this work and all that? Anyhow, somehow we got zeroed in on possibilities. So Bert, Tom, and I go down there, and Willie's looking at me, and in the meantime, I'd had an article of some sort in the local newspaper on my hand cycle. He says, "You're the guy in a hand cycle." I says, "Yeah, I think I've seen you around too." And we got to talking. Well, Willie and I, we built a friendship type thing, okay, both out of respect. Number one, he was an amputee.
Right.
So he knew where we were coming
knows,
from,
that's
okay?
right. He's one of you.
Exactly. And he had more empathy, and he knew how the process would work. He took a look at what we were doing and how we did it and how we went about it, and he says, we got to have that. And as a matter of fact, again, some of my notes that I've got sitting here, one of the first things he did was help sponsor a peer visitor training course to train more people. Out here at one of the local motels, we used a meeting room out there on a Saturday. And then that was in 1997. In 1998, we did it again, but we did it over at the Possibilities office. And we trained, I think, like 13 peer visitors at that point.
That's great.
But here's the beauty part. This is one of the things that Possibilities does. It widens your, I've got pretty much, to that point, I've got pretty much tunnel vision. It's amputees. That's what we're talking about,
right.
amputees, okay? Now I'm meeting Eric Arringtons, Jordan, Dell, all those people over there, and they're looking at me, and I'm looking at them, and it's okay, well, you know what, there's parallels.
How can we work together?
That's right. So they were invited to join the peer visitor training course. Now, you can be a peer visitor as a caregiver, as a professional, and all that. You just can't be a certified peer visitor, all right? Because you're not an amputee. And we found that there was a lot of parallels between what their disabilities were and our disabilities were, and we all had some of the same barriers that we had to work with. So
should have been a learning process for everybody involved.
It's an ongoing it's an ongoing learning process. It's always a fluid situation, and it's constant change, constant.
Well, before I forget it here, I've got some mustard, and I know in your truck you have a sign said. Got mustard?
Right.
Ask me about it.
Right.
So tell me about the mustard, and then we're going to come back to your ministry here.
My family has been making mustard continuously for over 55 years. We got the recipe from our aunt in Wisconsin when we were kids. We were raised on the farm up there in the summers. And she had gotten it from a farm in Iowa when she was a young lady. And it's a recipe that's a German-Dutch recipe, actually. It's got some bite to it, but it doesn't leave teeth marks.
It doesn't leave teeth marks.
It doesn't leave teeth marks. But it does have a hint of horseradish in it. We use, actually, it's Coleman's mustard from England.
Really?
That's the base.
So we're talking about something that goes back at least 100 years.
Oh, sure. Easy, yeah, and I go real close to that. But anyhow, it took us 20 years to get Coleman's to admit that they do put a little horseradish.
Well, I noticed you've got on your truck or your van with several other things. So let's come back and talk about this ministry that you're involved in, because over your lifetime, as I've listened to you and got acquainted with you, you've been involved in helping people in one way or another. But this tragedy, or this accident, or this the result of some poor health choices to begin with, looks like it's opened up some avenues for you and a whole new ministry for you.
It has. It's the Amputee Connections it's really thriving, and it's I'm sorry, I got to keep coming back to possibilities. Okay, we have partnered with them on a bunch of different activities. Whenever we go out and put a booth, whether it's at High Grove Day or Grand Terrace Day, or we're going to be at Ramona High School on the 24th for a special needs children type thing. Possibilities and Amputee Connections go together.
Right, hand in hand.
We have all of their literature with us no matter where we're at, okay? When we go out on our peer visits, we hand out literature for Possibilities, and there's other organizations too, but Possibilities helped us develop our brochure. And if it wasn't for, this is a key, this is a big key. If they hadn't helped us with this, because what we've done, and we're redoing this as we speak, what we did is we went out and we got holders for these. And if you look around the hospital, you'll probably see some of these.
I've seen some of these over there.
You'll probably see them. They helped us with the printing to get this done, the layout and et cetera, helped us get the brochure holders. We've got them in every doctor's office that'll say yes. We've got them at every pharmacy that'll say yes. Anywhere that there are amputees that frequent something, we try to get our brochures in there, and we wouldn't be able to do it. We wouldn't be as successful as we are today. That's a big component.
So working hand in hand, forget the pun there, but hand in hand with the Possibilities, it does open up other possibilities. And I see a couple of people there that have been a part of Possibilities.
Exactly.
Yeah, I see Rudy there, and I've known him. Well, we have some people in the audience, I'm sure, that this week have had a friend, an acquaintance, or a family member that's either just had an amputation or they're facing it. What would you tell them?
Number one, you want to find a support group in your area. The Amputee Coalition has support groups all over the country.
All around the country.
And they just recently went, the Amputee Coalition, you want to go online, you want to Google it, whatever you do, just get to Amputee Coalition and get to their website. They just changed completely. Now, this is only in the last about 45 days from a fee-based membership to free.
Okay. That's a big change.
All right. You can get it there in Motion magazine. You can get there's no restrictions where you can go on their websites anymore because you're not a member, okay? And they will find a support group for you in your area, okay? And all the support groups have the basic same structure as far as why they're there, what they do. That's the second component of being an amputee group. The first component is the peer visit. The second component is you're taking and you're putting a whole bunch of peers in a room, okay? They're no longer the elephant in the room, the ABs are. You know what an AB is?
Able body.
You got it.
All right.
And they get to talk to each other, and the synergy that there are sometimes these meetings get so intense with people just in their conversations with each other that I'm sitting there and this is like an out-of-body experience. You're watching this work, watching it work
right before you.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and that's really what support groups do. And it's transitionary. You're going to get amputees in there that need you just for a little while, and now they're fine. Okay, we've done our job. See ya. Come back and see us again. If I see an amputee out in the street, the very first thing I do is give him a card, give him a brochure, and all that. Well, I've been an amputee for 23 years. Really?
Bond right
Come
there.
tell us about it.
Yeah.
You come on in, and we've got a brand new amputee coming in with an amputation just like that. It's going to be at this next meeting. Would you come in and mentor him? We need your, you know.
So you're kind of involved almost around the clock then, aren't
Yes,
you?
I am.
I mean, you're on call.
Yes, I am.
A number of different things. And I know we got some events coming up here at Loma Linda here in another couple of weeks. Well, I see our time is really slipping by. Bill, I want to thank you for being on our program here. And I hope that our listening audience can see that, you know, when we come across somebody that has had an amputation, that we need to relate to them as just a normal person. They've got something a little bit different about them, but they're just like all the rest of us.
Your body's a shell. It's the same person's on the inside, folks.
That's right. So for our listening audience, again, you know, Bill's a remarkable illustration of somebody that's gone through some kind of a tragedy and an amputation, and it's developed as a result of that, he's developed a ministry in reaching out and helping others. And even you this week, some of you have had some challenges. Look to God. And I learned a long time ago that you don't need two legs to have a walk with Jesus. Thank you for joining us. I'm Lynn Martell with Journey of Hope. Till next week, God bless you, each one.